Hello, friends, and welcome back to Girls Run These Worlds. This is the penultimate episode of Freezerburnt, which is a Masks, a New Generation limited series, where every one of our heroes has someone somewhere in their backstory been fridged, which is the comic book trope where a character, usually female or of other marginalized identity, ends up injured, depowered, otherwise sidelined in order to promote someone else's character development. But we are following along to watch this group of heroes as they take back their stories, or at the very least try to. Quick recap as to where our heroes, the Defrigerators, have ended up right now. Everybody split up. We're all in different places. That's always a good sign, right? That's what you want. But so Reyna has been off the grid for some time, tailing their soulmate and eventual doom, Adon, after their kind of brief and unexpected, unanticipated meeting days before. Lee is reeling after a date with Embry, aka High Noon, ended with them performing a very public act of superheroism in front of their estranged hero family. So that was definitely something. Stacy sprinted off to the Banks mansion to check on her ex Aaliyah after a sudden revelation that the thing connecting all of the heroes and villains who have died or been injured over the course of our story appears to be names brought up in our fridging support group, Thaw and Alice, aka Witch, has scheduled a one-on-one meetup to confront Lenore Caldwell, the founder of Thaw, after finding her name on the list of people who have been granted special access to the meteorite that's the only known source of halcyonium, which is the element that's been found on all the victims of these mysterious killings and maimings thus far. Oh boy. I'm Allie. I'm your GM for the day, running us through this adventure, this amazing system brought to us by Magpie Games. And I'm thrilled to introduce the cast. Anita, how about you kick us off? Introduce yourself and your character, and tell us something you were excited about last time or something you're looking forward to this time around.
Anita, that's me. Hey everybody. I am Anita. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. Um, Tonight I'll be playing Stacy Jane, who uses she, her pronouns. She's using the Bull character playbook. And oh gosh, it's already the penultimate episode, everybody. I'm gonna miss everyone already. Oh my goodness. A lot of emotions. I'm excited for the team to all get together today. I'm excited. I'm very excited to see uh sort of Reina and Reina's doom slash crush slash it's complicated. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Okay. Um, and with that, I'll pass it to the person that's just gonna 1v1 the big bad of the campaign. We're not gonna have to worry at all. She's gonna bust in, just do a bang bam boom, and our problems will be gone. So the campaign is writing on you, Mateo. Go for it.
Hello, I'm Mateo, she, her. I'm playing Witch, aka Alice Fox, also she, her. I'm the Nova, which means sometimes I just explode. Yeah, I guess I'm excited to see how this confrontation goes. I'm kind of going it alone against, as Anita put it, the big bad. So we'll see what happens. I'll pass that to Alice.
Hi guys, I'm Alice. She, they pronouns. I am playing Lee Daring, the delinquent, they, them pronouns. They've been having a really nice time and have no idea what is going on with everyone else. And personally, I can't wait to see just everything that happens this episode. And I'm going to pass it over to Diana, who is thankfully back with us.
Yeah, hola everybody. I go by Dynamite Online. I use she, her pronouns, and I am playing Morena Reina de la Calaveriera, she, they pronouns, and I am playing the Doomed, and I am looking forward to seeing how everybody's doing. Everyone's a better hero than I am. They're fine. They didn't need me, honestly, They're doing their own thing. I was just going and not stalking my future soulmate slash betrayer, who knows. It's gonna be fine, and that's what I'm looking for, is to find out that everything's fine. And back to Allie.
Amazing. Yes, everything's so fine. And let's figure out just how fine everything is by starting off. So today's issue begins with a panel of Stacy, who is, I imagine, sprinting through Halcyon City. We see them pass from one neighborhood to the next. The occasional passersby, it has like a bubble that's like, hey, or like, watch where you're going, as Stacy just kind of sprints. Each panel shows her surroundings getting bougier and bougier, basically like nice neighborhood to nice neighborhood, until Stacy is sprinting up a hill to an immaculately kept like hedge fence that has an ornate bee cut very delicately into it. Stacy, when like full steam ahead, you end up at this fence. There is an old familiar call box that you can use to buzz up to the house that's just to the left of this kind of bee-shaped entrance gate. When you sprint up to it, what do?
So I kind of want to paint the picture of like Stacy running through the city a little bit, because
Yeah, please.
I'm sure there are some Hulk jumps like in it when the sort of city streets get like a little more crowded. And there's a lot of jumping, a lot of probably like a good amount of accidental property damage, with like just the impacts of like not like big property damage, but like there are some cracks in the sidewalk now that weren't there before. And I feel like as she approaches the gates of the bank's mansion, she's just going to jump over it, because she doesn't have time for like she doesn't have time to like call in and talk to Mr. Pippin and like figure everything out. She needs to like get to um get to Aaliyah before whoever else that's looking for Aaliyah does. Uh
Great.
Now she jumps over the fence.
Yeah, so we have this fantastic thing. So Stacy leaps over the fence. I imagine too that when Stacy lands, like there's this kind of like beautiful sort of like granite driveway that kind of goes up, and there's like a little crack in that too, just from the sheer force of Stacy like leaping and landing. When you do, we can see that there's a wail that kind of goes up through the air like an alarm, like just wee woo starts to go across the screen. Or across the panel. You can see though that the straight ahead is the familiar Banks Mansion, which is it's a beautiful kind of old building. But it has all of kind of like the modern amenities, like it's this beautiful, like statuesque kind of like dark brick house, but next to it there's like a glass covered garage, and you can see that there's like like basically like a helipad on top of the garage kind of thing. There is lights adorning the whole thing, but it's very familiar, and you know exactly where the front door is if you are to just kind of continue up the hill while these alarms go.
Yeah, I'm beelining.
Okay, great. So you kind of beeline for the front door, and before you get to it, it opens, and a familiar figure steps out, wearing kind of like a very like I mean basically wearing Kevlar, like wearing sort of like an armored suit and holding up a shield. And this is the bank's butler, Aaliyah's butler, Mr. Pippin. And it says, please, I must ask you to halt where you are.
I think seeing Mr. Pippin, I think Stacy is just going to gasp because she's been running for a while and she's super strong, but like she's not like a runner. She never was a sprinter. But sort of just like gasps out, oh yeah, trouble.
Mr. Pippin seems to like have processed for the first time that it's Stacy, and will kind of like lower the shield and say, oh, Miss Jane, oh, actually, yes, you should come in. Please come in, and we'll kind of like step to the side, and like is sort of like taking off the armor, and revealing his typical work suit underneath as he does. And you're in the familiar sort of like grand foyer of the bank's mansion. And Mr. Pippin sort of like looks around, like he's kind of trying to get a sense of what's around him. And will sort of look at you and say, Miss Banks is in the drawing room. I believe you remember the way. And but Miss Jane.
I'm already gone.
Miss Jane. And he'll like, if you're trying to leave already, he'll like grab you and stop you. And he will say, like, obviously this is this is not at all a strength contest. You can like rip, you can leave if you want, but something in his voice, yeah.
Mr. Pippin, like, Stacy respects him.
He'll say, Miss Banks is currently with a guest discussing a private matter. It would, of course, be utterly inappropriate for you to listen in on their discussion. So, while you wait for Miss Banks, please, under no circumstances, take a seat in the parlor, and especially not in the green chair right by the dual fireplace, lest you overhear anything that you shouldn't. I'll bring him some tea. The usual, I imagine?
This is hard. Because Stacy doesn't realize who is doing the assassinating yet, and simply understands that, someone is alone in a room with a person that might be. Upon hearing that, she's gonna like look, blink, and there is another panel of just like a blue streak where Stacy was, as she, like a pastel pink and blue streak where she is just going straight to knock down the door, ready to defend Aaliyah if Aaliyah needs defending from whoever this person is that Mr. Pippin is obviously wary of.
Yes. Okay. So you're not waiting, you're busting the door down. Okay, great. So the only thing that you kind of like sense before you have busted into the drawing room is you hear Aaliyah saying, I told you my answer is no. And that's kind of the one thing you hear as you burst into the room. I mean, this might be a strong door. We don't need to roll. Like Stacy can break a door down. Like that's Doable. But so you end up in this room. Aaliyah, who looks a little, I don't even want to say like worse for wear, but just, like dark circles under the eyes, like seems tired, is Aaliyah cares a lot about her appearance, even if it's not to look mainstream, but like we'll always, put a little extra effort into the outfit. But today is just sort of like black sweatpants, black hoodie over the top, arms tightly crossed, is like sitting with her legs like under her up on a big kind of red couch. And the other person in this room looks a little familiar to you, although you can't immediately place her. She's a very like well dressed in, like a pantsuit, like charcoal gray woman who has like looks kind of familiar to you, but you can't quite place it. And is carrying like a briefcase and like is standing as if, she was almost ready to leave herself. But they will both like turn and look at you. Aaliyah goes, Stacy? And this woman goes, excuse me, we were having a private conversation.
Stacy didn't think this far ahead. It seems like there's nothing, like she wouldn't even know what to look for, because the person in the hospital said that her assailant was invisible. So I think Stacy's just gonna, right, I'ma just slowly goes into her backpack and takes out her custom camera and just like snaps a wide shot of what's happening, hoping to see if there's anything interesting like in the room, before backing out of the room and just putting up the, like, the doors are probably off their hinges, but she picks them up and just rests them on sort of the frame. There's obviously a crack in between it, and Stacy is looking through just in case the person is actually someone that means Aaliyah harm. And she's just gonna sit there and wait.
This is a fantastic collection of panels, because it's just like, it's Stacy's bursting in. It's like, excuse me. It's Stacy slowly taking out this camera, clicking a picture, leaving, replacing the door, and then we just see Stacy's eye like through the door, like obviously still watching this conversation. And which is great. I will tell you that the printout that you get, the picture, that your custom camera, the only like interesting thing it picks up in the picture is like there's like a collection of energy that is amassing around Aaliyah herself. This is not surprising to you. Like, you've taken pictures of like yourself, for instance, and you show up often as the most interesting thing in there. This picture gives you a pretty good sense. Nothing in that room currently is going to cause Aaliyah any physical harm. That's your immediate assessment. But I love this so much. Okay, so the woman in the suit, the professional looking woman, says, well, I won't keep you much longer now that you have other company, but and she sort of lowers her voice. It's probably enough that if you weren't like super powered already and had like heightened senses, even just in addition to your abilities, you can kind of have a little bit more. Someone else would probably be straining to hear, but especially if the door bursts down, like, it's clear that this woman is like trying to not be obvious, but like isn't trying to hide what she's saying that much. And she says, Aaliyah, You need to be reasonable. This is a fantastic opportunity for us. If we monetize the serum properly, think of the advancements we could make with the additional funds. The serum brought one person back from the dead already, and you can see her gesturing to the door. And Aaliyah says, also, under her breath, Stacey's the exception, not the rule. I've spent too much time trusting you to do the right thing. What you're proposing sounds dangerous. I can promise you, Miss Banks, we know best. And then you can see, you're watching inside. Aaliyah like stands up off of the couch, but with like such force that she basically like crunches down the armrest of the couch as she does. And she just says, "No, that's my final decision." And this woman turns around, and you could swear that she like makes eye contact with you through the door, but then looks back and says, "How disappointing. Thankfully, your consent was a nice to have. Our plan will manage just fine without it. And if you have any objections, we'll see you in court. Although I seriously doubt even the bank's trust could hire lawyers that stand up to Typhon Pharmaceuticals." Then this woman kind of walks towards the door that you have, replaced, and just says,
Stacy will sort of back away from the door, so she has like the ability to step through.
She steps through and she says, "Stacy Jane, my apologies for not introducing myself. Queer and a quotient. I believe you were acquainted with my sibling Quinn before they were imprisoned. Rightfully, of course."
Cool. Sorry, I'm distracted. There's important things that I need to talk to Aaliyah about. Good to meet you. Yeah. Stacy has forgotten her name already, and walks through the door.
Great.
Well,
Yeah.
pushes the door to the side before replacing the door, and walks in.
Great. Yeah, this woman leaves. Like you could hear her walking back through the hall. She's gone. And Aaliyah will kind of like still arms crossed, like is like, biting her fingernails. But she'll look up at you and be like, "What are you doing here?"
Sorry. I thought you were in danger. I still think you're in danger. I'm and I think she'll oh God, is she gonna like talk about support group? Anonymity seems to be like a thing that is valued in support group. She's going to talk vaguely about support group, enough to like let her know that her name has been brought up in some meetings that Stacy has attended. And a lot of the people that are getting iced by the Rhombus King have been showing up on that list.
Yeah, she'll say, "Oh, thanks for telling me. That does seem like an odd coincidence. But I'll be careful. I mean, Mr. Pippin has been making me take extra precautions ever since Middleman died. So I have already been, as you probably heard, when I'm guessing it was you who set the alarms off."
I don't remember. Honestly, it was very tunnel vision on my way over here.
Well, the mansion's on double lockdown, and when I'm going out, I'm only going out with the rest of Solstice, but thanks.
The last hero I sort of talked to, said that the assailant was invisible, or that like didn't really see what was coming before it came. I don't know what's happening, but I feel like it's I have a feeling that it's like connected to my hero group a lot. So I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really glad you're safe and not dead.
thanks. Yeah, I don't exactly. I know that it was my choice to, well, to go to Typhon Pharmaceuticals, and I know it was my choice, well, to do a lot of things really, but I I have no idea if this has anything to do with whatever's going on with your group, but I think something's going on with Typhon, and I don't know what it is.
Um, oof. Like, I don't think Stacy is surprised that that Aaliyah's like mixed up with Typhon Pharmaceuticals, but I think she is like disappointed. Um, and I think she's gonna say, you've made a lot of decisions in the past year that I really don't agree with. Um, but it's a dangerous world, and I don't want anything to happen to you. Because even though things ended awfully, I still love you. So don't die.
Thanks. Um, and by the way, you know that I lost my parents pretty early in my life. And I want you to know that when Typhon Pharmaceuticals first wanted to work with me on the serum, one of the things that they were most excited about was that, well, I mean, was that the serum brought you back. And they told me that they would spend so much time just seeing if it could be used, for first aid for accidents, for really like a resort when situations are really dire for people. And I've lost so many people in my life, and I thought it was a good idea, but they only ever cared about the super soldier part of it. And now it's refined and the side effects are better, and that's great, but now they're trying to, well, everything they promised me was a lie, and it turns out that they may ask my permission for. It doesn't even, I guess it doesn't even matter. Sorry, this probably sucks because I'm sure this is how you felt.
I don't think I can be there for you right now.
That's fair.
I have a team that I left in the middle of a conversation. I dropped Witch's phone. Oh God, I hope I don't break Witch's phone. I need to talk to my team. You should probably talk to yours. Maybe they could help.
As you say that, Aaliyah's watch goes off. It's a little like tinny version of the solstice theme song. She looks at it and then she says, "Oh, Stacey, you're right. You can't be there for me right now, but I do think you need to come with me and see this." And that's where we're going to end that scene. So let's move right along to our next panel. We're going to go over to Witch, who is preparing for her visit to Lenore Caldwell's apartment, which is, you don't have like you said that you were going to come over, pretty much right away. So you've got some time in just the window to get over there. But Witch, what are you up to? Are you preparing in any way, or are you just heading straight over? What's the plan?
So Witch is heading straight over, but makes a certain text to McKay
Okay.
that says, if you're still watching, keep an eye out. Something might go wrong.
You get a little bubble pops up, and then you get just back like geez, and then a second later, fine. And that's all you get.
And then I head right over.
Okay, great. So you are not too far from Lenore's neighborhood. Lenore lives in kind of like it's sort of a hipster neighborhood of Halcyon City. Like there's lots of cool looking bars and some neat shops and plant stores and all that kind of thing. We're getting into the evening at this point. And it's busy. There's a lot of people around. You get to Lenore's address. Her apartment is like a third floor walk up in an old kind of brick building. And she'll buzz you up straight away when you arrive. Like we'll just buzz you in. And if you go straight up, she'll meet you at the front door. And she's just kind of like waiting when you come up the stairs, and she's saying, "Hey, Witch, how's it going?"
Good. We just need to talk is all.
I'm happy to. I'm honestly really happy you reached out. And Lenore kind of like steps inside her apartment to let you inside. It is like just as kind of colorful and expressive as Lenore's typical choice of clothing. There's sort of like a loft area that's got a bed. It's not a huge apartment. Loft area with a bed, small kitchen, dining area, a living room, all sort of outfitted in bright patterns that mismatch with each other and covered in wall art and knickknacks all over the place. But she will gesture for you to sit and say, do you want some water, or can I get you anything to drink?
Yeah, a water would be good.
And she will kind of like head over to, she's got a cute little yellow fridge. She gets a glass of water, kind of pours out from a pitcher, hands it over to you. And she sort of takes a seat, like she'll let you have the couch and sort of takes a seat on like a little armchair that she's got next to it and say, I can't tell you how thrilled I was that you decided to reach out and you say you're ready to open up. What is it that you wanted to talk about?
Before that, when she's at the fridge,
Okay,
I would like to roll to assess the situation.
great,
Just
perfect.
like a
Yes,
look around.
that's a great idea. Please go ahead and make that roll plus superior.
That's 7.
7. Okay. Yeah, you get one question of what here can I use to blank? What here is the biggest threat? What here is in the greatest danger? Who here is most vulnerable to me? And how could we best end this quickly?
What here can I use to, how do I put this? Call her out.
Yeah.
Like, is
What
there
here?
any like,
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me figure out how to answer it best. Honestly, I'm gonna give you like this is a not a literal answer, but like Lenore is, basically like in her pajamas, like she's in loungewear. This is her apartment. She's very much like not expecting a confrontation right now. And would be very caught off guard by one. So you can use that to your advantage to kind of get a really honest response out of her just by the fact that it's like anything that you're about to say to her that isn't I'm ready to open up is going to be a big like shock to Lenore at this moment in time.
okay, I sit down and hood off, mask off. This is probably like the first time anyone's seen
Me
the
actually
face.
gasping.
Yes.
Describe it for us. What does the face look like?
So very pale, very like heavy freckled, very Irish. The other eye is like very clearly like leaking a lot and embers and sparks, which maybe the first time she met Lenore was happening, but it hasn't since, and now it is. Um, she looks like she might have like not been able to shave a lot, so she's got a little bit of stubble. Um, the hair like half shaved, red dyed, like to the side. And she looks maybe a little malnourished and very tired. And she says, "Do you know who I am?"
Oh, what a good question. Lenore kind of like, doesn't express any visible shock. Like, I think that this is actually the kind of thing she was more prepared for, is like, okay, but you could definitely say like you don't see any shock when you like take your mask off, although like a little bit of like a blink of like, oh, okay, this is happening. But when you ask that question, um it's such a good question. Okay. Alan needs to figure out how to answer this because I'm trying to figure out what my characters know. I think that Lenore will say, you do look familiar. I'm sorry. I can't place exactly where, but yes, you look familiar.
That's okay. My name is Alice Fox, and it has been 2 years about since I've been alive. Used to go by Sorceress.
Sorceress. Yes, you were on the Mark's partner.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, not that it's uncommon with our group, but obviously On the Mark has made somewhat of a name for himself in talking about how the death of his partner affected him.
Yeah, well, he's full of shit.
He is.
Listen, now you know who I am, and I'm letting you know I know who you are, and I know what you've been up to.
I don't know what you mean, Alice.
You don't have to play this game. The Thaw, all of the people in Thaw connected to Thaw losing their powers, dying. The two people who fridged you gone.
I don't know what you were suggesting, Alice, but Myobius, sure, Myobius is a villain, but Middleman, I loved Middleman for a long time. We may have had some bad blood between us, but I loved him. He was my fiance once upon a time.
I take the names, the list of names out of my pocket, and I put it down the table right there. You are the only person connected to this who had easy, open access to that meteorite.
To a meteorite? Alice, what are you talking? I mean, yeah, that's my name. What is this? What does this mean?
Every victim has a bit of calciumite in their wound. And where does that come from?
The meteorite in the planetarium, I do remember that, but Alice, and at that there's a knock at the door, and Lenore will sort of look at you and say, and like kind of just like waits to see if the knock is going to happen again, and there's another kind of like harder knock this time, and someone behind the door says, Lenore Caldwell, and Lenore will look at you and say, do you want to put your mask back on?
Hood up, mask on.
Okay. So Lenore will cross the door and open it. And on the other side is an HCPD officer who says, and this is sort of like a older man, kind looking, has very like Levantine features, has he's got like, he's definitely like probably shows a little more of his years than he actually like has, but we'll say, Lenore Caldwell, I'm Officer Ibrahim. You are being detained as a person of interest in the murders of Myopius, Middleman, and others. Would you come with me, please? And Lenore like looks behind you and says,
confusion on my face too.
which Lenore can't see because he got the mask on. And Lenore says, no, Alice, I'm telling you, the meteorite, I remember the meteorite, but I can't think of why. And we'll look at you and say, which, please tell him that this is, please, I wouldn't do something like this.
I get up and I walk over and I look at Lenore and I say, this isn't me. And I look at the police officer and I say, do you have a warrant or anything?
Yeah, he'll pull out like an arrest warrant, or I guess I don't know what the actual thing is. It's the thing for like a person of interest that isn't like, I think it's still an arrest warrant, but it's like a person of interest in this case. We'll pull that out, and we'll like show it to Lenore and say, ma'am, we want to get you to the station. We want to do this as quietly as possible. And you could see behind this officer, walking into sort of they don't walk into the room, but they sort of like come into view in like sort of the small stairwell that's outside, are Dawnfall and Duskbreak, two of the members of Solstice, and says, I asked these two to be here just to get you transported there safely. Obviously, there's a lot going on with this case. And I'm sorry, who is this? And like sort of points to you,
Which hero in the making?
uh sure, yeah. Well, which I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation, but we do have to take Miss Caldwell in. And Lenore's just kind of standing there in shock. Like doesn't really seem to be processing anything that's happening here. And Dawnfall and Duskbreak definitely look surprised to see you here. And will sort of like let Lenore be kind of like led out as the officer kind of like comes by. And the officer, Lenore says, I'm telling you, I don't have anything to do with this. And the officer replies, your laptop's been traced, ma'am. You want to tell us exactly why you've got information on all of the murders and mailings and maimings up on that? And Lenore kind of like looks desperately at you again, Witch, and says, I've been following the case. It's affected so many members of our support group. So the officer says, ma'am, how exactly then do you have information on murders that haven't yet been announced to the public? And at that, Lenore says, I don't know. And at that, we'll sort of just like let herself be led out. And we'll just kind of give one look back at you, not really say anything, but it's just like her eyes are like piercing into you, Which what do you do?
I tell them to wait for a second, and I like look Lenore like in the eye. Can I want to? Can I say, if you really don't have anything to do with it, tell me right now and tell the truth.
Great. I'm gonna make this a directly engage a threat roll. It's kind of a metaphorical threat, but I think we need a roll for the stakes of this situation.
Okay, which
It's plus danger.
danger. Okay, that's good. That's a 12.
Amazing. Okay. So I'm gonna give you two and we'll figure out how to interpret those. But Lenore looks at you and says, I'm telling you, I don't have anything to do with this, at least not directly. And with that, we'll kind of like let the officer take her away. But please tell us what two you would like, and we'll interpret those within the frames of this specific situation.
Okay. Can I say take something from them as like getting Lenore out of the policeman's hand? And then I take her, I look at the two from who was it, Duskfall and Dawnbreak.
Yeah.
So sorry about this. And let's say resist or avoid their blows. I'm going to smoke out the whole hallway and just run with Lenore.
Yeah. Okay. So you and Lenore just start like you smoke out the air. You could hear the officer going like, hey, stop them. And Duskfall and Dawnbreak or Duskbreak and Dawnfall are coming after you. They are you definitely though like you have gotten far enough ahead that you like smoke out the staircase. There's like, we see just like the silhouette of you two kind of like going down in the street. And Lenore will sort of like grab at you, and you kind of like go around into an alleyway where you're pretty sure you're like, it seems like you're in the clear, basically. And Lenore will say, "Thank you, witch. I don't know what's going on with the meteorite. I remember years ago something, but I have to check first before I can tell you anything. But there's something I can tell you right now." And Lenore like flips over her phone and starts kind of like going through it. You can see, and she says, "Good. I always have remote access to my laptop set up." And then we'll like hold it so you both can look at it. And she starts scrolling through like the image folder, and she says, what are these? And it's like a bunch of images from news articles. It's various bruises, the rhombus bruises that the victims have had. And you can see, Middleman's is on his wrist. There's one on someone's knee. There's one like on someone's arm. Like they're kind of all in different places for the first, 10, 15 or so images. But then new images start to show up, and you are pretty sure, Witch, that you haven't seen these either. All of these have the bruise in exactly the same place, dead center on someone's forehead, like exactly in the same spot. And she looks at you and says, I've never seen these before.
I can't say. Listen, I'm going to bring you somewhere safe, and you stay there. Or I'm going to call Liam McKay. He's going to come meet you, our mutual friend.
Liam McKay turns the corner and says, "No need to call. You told me to watch. I watched. I'm going to trust you have a good reason for me to be housing a fugitive."
I don't actually think she did it. Look, I'm going to bring you to my safe house. You have to promise not to tell anyone where that is.
McKay kind of looks a little sheepish, and he says, "If you want, I can go by myself. I think I already know where it is."
Fine. Lenore, go with him. Just tell him everything. Everything.
Liam will kind of nod, and then we'll start walking away. And as just as they get out of sight, Duskbreak and Dawnfall round the corner, but they immediately say, "Hey," Duskbreak looks at you and says, "Look, something weird's obviously going on. We're not trying." Officer Ibrahim, he's a nice guy, but something's going on. We all need to get to our teams. And holds up their watch. "I think you should probably come with us."
This isn't a trap, right?
And as you say that, Dawnfall will sort of laugh and be like, "If it was, could you really resist the temptation of what would be on the other end?"
I guess. Let's go.
Great. All right, so we'll wrap that scene up there. And let's now go to Reyna. The next panel shows Reyna once again following Adon. And Reyna, I think when you're kind of like following them, where is it that you like what's your typical MO? Like where are you placed? If we see Adon like in the middle of a street, where are you positioned?
Generally across the street and kind of things.
Mhm.
Like you would see, like the panels would show just a dawn, but there would be like a reflection of like Reina's blue hair, like somewhere and kind of thing. And it's just like being not so subtle, but at the same time, Reina is very much like, I'll just use constructs and, to shift,
Yeah.
like, shift
Um
perception a bit whenever he turns, like if he, because he should be a little paranoid by this point.
Yeah. I definitely think that like you could see that Adon has sort of been like getting increasingly antsy about something, but like has still been we have a few panels. Adon has been running errands like all, we're getting into the evening out now, but he's been running errands all morning. He's been popping into and out of magic shops for the bamboozler. He took care of a quick kind of like money laundering situation at the back of an Italian restaurant in the afternoon. But now it's late. The thing is, normally he would be headed home by now, as you know, from having like kind of learned his routine. To kind of like a small but comfortable apartment that's 2 neighborhoods over from Silverside, but he hasn't, at least not yet. You've tailed Adon into a neighborhood that you're not really familiar with. It's in kind of like the oldest part of Halcyon City. And a lot of the buildings here have been around for basically like as long as the city has. They're sort of like these old stone brick structures. They've got 2 small doors. They've got these elaborate details. But one building in this neighborhood stands out. It's a squat building of white siding and glass. It must be at least 100 years newer than most of the other buildings around it. And this is the building that you see Adon hesitate in front of and then duck inside. What do you do when you see this?
This doesn't seem familiar. And even though I can't access obviously all my memories, I still try to like, had Dawn ever mentioned this area before? Like, who would come here? Like pretty, like not even villains really just pay attention unless they were from that era kind of thing. And I think, yeah, Reina's just been so keyed in about like making sure, not even sure why they're doing this anymore, other than it calms them apparently a little bit. I think they're going to try to find another way into the same building, and if they can't find one, they'll go through this front door.
Yeah, great. Okay, so yes, so you're sort of looking around. There is you can pretty easily duck down an alleyway and kind of go up a fire escape. And this leads you to, there's like a second floor window of this building that has sort of been left ajar. It's definitely like the window isn't open all of the way, like it's just got like a little bit of room in for air, but you could probably jimmy it open far enough at least to get inside.
Yeah, and I do that. And
Great.
Don't even look before I leap, just like go in, like as soon as it's open just enough, just like crawl in.
Yeah, amazing. So you have ended up on the second floor of, I mean, this is sort of there's a big atrium in sort of the center of the building. And you're on a catwalk that sort of surrounds the atrium, like a metal catwalk. You can see you can't see anybody, but you can see that there's a couple lights on sort of in the room that's just beyond the atrium, like maybe it's like the front hall or something like that. There's a couple lights on in there. And it looks like the catwalk continues around the atrium and like through into the front hall. So if you want to stay up on the second level, you can and still see the room where the lights are going on in without being detected.
Yeah, I'll continue to do that. Going very like as softly as I can because a catwalk is usually pretty loud. I'm not wearing stealth shoes, surprisingly enough. But also on the lookout specifically, like where did Adon go? Not necessarily looking as I should for dangers or anybody else. It's just laser
very
focused.
Yeah. Okay. So great. So you end up in this on this catwalk, you see Adon sort of like walk into this, you move into the area of the catwalk where you can see down into the front hall. Adon sort of like looks around, kind of sees something off to his right, and sort of continues along that way. And he spots something, and then says with like apparent confusion, what are you doing here? Not to you, to someone else. And a voice replies, I could ask you the same thing. Adon says, this bracelet you gave me, it kept whispering this address. And the voice replies, how strange. And Adon, after a moment, like you could hear some noise of like Adon pacing around. Do you do anything in this window where the conversation has stopped?
I grab the still stuck bracelet that I have on and just like grr, and we'll use my telekinesis to float closer to try to get to see who this is, to see if this the fucking scientist or not.
So you float closer. You end up at kind of like a vantage point where you are mostly concealed in sort of like an upper shadowy corner of the room, and you can like look downward to see to whom Adon is speaking. And this is indeed, it's a younger version of the person that you knew in your other timeline, but this is undoubtedly Dr. Paris Shadows, the scientist who helped bring about just so many things, and who is the apparent source of your bracelet as well. And Adon, as you get this vantage point, Adon finally like says, I don't like this at all. Did you bring me here? What do you want with me? And Dr. Shadows responds, I admit bringing you here was half my goal. Bringing her here, though, that's the other part. Reyna, care to join us?
Let's see. I always mix masks and urban shadows together. I don't have a cool move. I think she's not going to keep her cool. Going to just throw like the equivalent of like psychic lightning at like just like nope. Kill Bill sirens.
Okay, so you're just going straight into it. That's great. Please roll to directly engage a threat.
Yeah, let's see. What is my danger? That is an 8.
Great. All right, so you can pick one, resist or avoid their blows, take something from them, create an opportunity for your allies, impress, surprise, or frighten the opposition.
I want to create an opportunity for Adon, and then hopefully frighten the opposition.
That's a bonus, but
pick one.
It's just one. Which one of those?
Frightened.
Which one of those?
Frightened.
Okay, frightened. Okay, great. So you in this kind of like exchange of blows, you throw this lightning down. At your first exchange, Dr. Shadows doesn't seem that surprised, like sort of like throws up it's a material made of the same kind of like multiple links that are on your bracelet, and it kind of like forms up into a bracelet and sort of like crackles against it. But I think like that was just sort of one move. Dr. Shadows doesn't actually have any powers. So I think it's easy for you to like kind of one shield goes up, another kind of like extends forward. And this one will kind of like this psychic lightning will hit Dr. Shadows pretty square in the chest and kind of like send him backward. And he sort of like yelps as he does. And he says, please, Reyna, don't you want to know the answers to some of your questions. I'm certain you have them.
I have a lot of questions and I do have a lot of answers. And she's like floating down to like be beside Adon, forgetting that Adon doesn't really know her yet.
Yeah.
It's just like, but all I know is that you were not helpful in the future.
And Dr. Shadows sort of says, Dr. Shadows, it will sort of say, fine, you might know that about me, but Adon, he doesn't know anything that's going on right now. Don't you think he deserves some answers? And Adon kind of looks at you, and it's like, you're the person I saw at the mirror labyrinth. What are you doing here?
And Reina does look a teensy bit embarrassed, like side looking at Adon, and say, it shouldn't matter because I'm already going to change things. He's not supposed to be part of the equation anymore.
The Dr. Shadows will look at you and say, you're trying to change the future. Wouldn't you like to know if you're able to succeed? If I could tell you, wouldn't you like to know?
Wouldn't that create some sort of weird paradox?
Oh, we're past weird paradoxes already. You're here, Reina.
Exactly. I was given a second chance to fix what happened. I've become a good person, sort of, and I am not going to fall in love with him this time.
Adon is like, huh? Just like a very audible, huh? And we'll sort of look over at you. And Dr. Shadows says, I would have liked to have hope in you as well. But let me tell you something about those bracelets that you're wearing. They come from an ancient civilization that used to inhabit the region outside Halcyon City. We call them the Protagorans, but we know very little about them, except for the artifacts they left behind and the fact that they were extremely technologically advanced. It was rumored, actually, that they had discovered the secrets to reaching across timelines, across dimensions, to seeing multiple realities at once. This was only theorized, of course, for centuries, based on the very little translatable writing they left behind. That is until now. You see, those bracelets, and he points, and Adon indeed has a bracelet identical to yours, although on his opposite wrist, says, I've discovered how to use them. It took me some time. It actually required a time anomaly to gain enough energy to operate. And you, Reina, even though you claim that you are trying so hard not to fall in love with Adon again, you were the one who willingly walked face to face to meet Adon just a few days ago.
He wasn't supposed to be there.
A lot of things with the timeline have changed since you've started trying to be good. But now I finally have enough power to with that, Dr. Shadows pulls like a diamond out of his pocket and throws it down to the ground. It shatters into a bunch of pieces. And when it does, the pieces start vibrating very powerfully. The pieces start sort of vibrating at like a very high frequency. And your bracelet starts vibrating. You could tell it's the exact same frequency. It's like your bracelet is resonating with the diamond, as is Adon's. How do you react when this starts to happen?
I think like immediately like just thrust an arm out to push Adon back. Like just the instinct to like this is right now he's innocent for
Yeah.
now. Like just to protect him and just like kind of step back and with my other hand um trying to shield us because I don't understand any of this, obviously, what's going on.
Yeah. Why don't you give me a roll to defend? Because is that your primary motivation right now is to kind of like shield Adon? Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll plus savior.
Okay. That is 8, 9.
9, great. So you're gonna keep him safe. And I'm going to you keep him safe, but you can choose one, add a team to the pool, take influence over Adon, or clear condition.
Yeah, I think it only makes sense that it'd be take influence over Adon.
Okay, great. So you take influence over Adon. And I'll tell you exactly how this is going to escalate the situation. So you sort of like back Adon up, who, like this kind of creates like you are now fully like Dr. Shadows could not get to Adon without getting through you first. However, one thing that happens is your bracelets in their off hands, they link up together. So you are now like your bracelets are basically like handcuffing you to Adon right now. And they're like still vibrating at this frequency. And as this frequency sort of like starts to like it gets to a point where it's like your arms are like visibly moving. It's not like painful, but it's very intense. And you could see that the little crystals, the crystal shards all over the floor, they start to kind of like, as if from an old school projector, images start to like leap up from them. And these images are like, one is like, they're all you or Adon. Some of them are older, some of them are younger. They might be the same age as you, but it's all you. However, they're not memories you have either from now or from the future, at least not all of them. Some of them are scenes that are familiar to you, but one is like you and Adon locked in an embrace. Another shows you tackling over the ruins of like a fallen skyscraper in the center of Halcyon City. The next shows you and Blanca as young kids just jumping in puddles after a rainy day, just a beautiful childhood memory. Then the next is like you bursting through the front door of a bank in a mechanized tank with Adon by your side, or rather Elsa Soldado by your side. You've got all of these little things, and like some of them have the wisp of being memories, but it's definitely all you. And Dr. Shadows will say, this is who you are, Kaida Reina. It is your past, your present, your future. Now, in this reality, in the many others, all of this is you. And Adon sort of like looks out at everything that's happening because they're featuring in many of these memories as well, and will just sort of like look over at you and say, what does this mean?
We claimed we were in another life soulmates, and I had believed it. We'd believed it. We would take care of each other. Could soulmates be a real thing?
I mean, if this is every reality, we're together in a lot of them. And with that, we're going to cut away from the scene for just a moment. We're going to head over to Lee and Embry. What are they up to? So in the next panel, after this intense gaze that passed between Adon and Reina, we've got Lee and Embry who are hanging out on that same rooftop where you've been. And they are housing some burritos that Embry has like brought up from a food truck nearby. And just kind of chatting, talking. And it's the kind of we sense, especially because we saw this last week, that it's the sort of they're kind of still on the date and maybe it's time for it to be over, but no one really wants to say goodbye sort of vibe. But Embry will get a notification on their watch and sort of like, look at it, look away, look at it again, and just say, what the hell?
It better not be Pigeon Guy again.
No, it's not Pigeon Guy. Hey, when's the last time you saw Kaida Reina?
Ooh. You remember that mirror maze?
Yeah. No. Wow. That was a
Then?
few days ago.
Yeah, she's been busy.
Busy with well, I've got a 911 on my watch. It says need aid with immediate extraction, 1515 West Larkdale. Suspect known alias Kaida Reina, superpowered and dangerous. All of Solstice got there. I mean, and it's a 911. Everyone's going to be going.
Fuck. Who knows what she's got herself into?
I mean, I guess if you're down for, part 3 of the date, let's figure this out.
Yeah, I actually probably should go put on my costume now because unlike you, I don't have like the fancy little orb thing.
Yeah, right. No orb. I could drop you at your place first and then we can go.
Sure. You can come over to my apartment.
Ooh, and Embry will sort of like grab an arm around your waist again, as they did once before, and take off to go to your apartment. This is where we're going to take our break, and all of our refrigerators are with a member of Solstice except for Reina, and a 911's been dialed in. So let's see what happens when everyone gets together. We will be back in 15 minutes. If you need to get some water, get some water. If you gotta take your meds, take your meds. Use this time to subscribe to the Twitch, to the YouTube, do all of that good stuff right now. And we will be right back after this. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Freezerburnt. Hope you had a good break, and let's jump straight back into the action, of which there is quite a bit because Raina is literally stuck with Adon in a sticky situation with Dr. Paris Shadows. But on their way to 1515 West Clarkdale to this building is Aaliyah and Stacy. And Stacy, I want you to give me just like a one panel. What does your arrival to this address look like? Like what you and Aaliyah rolling up, what does that look like?
Gosh. Aaliyah's probably really cool. Aaliyah probably has like a midnight mobile, and I'm probably like riding shotgun awkwardly for like a couple panels. It's just like silent, and
Yeah.
there is like just an awkward silence of just like we had this really heartbreaking conversation like a little while before, and now we have to like do our jobs, if this counts as our job, and we gotta like do it together. And also, you look incredibly hot driving the Midnight Mobile. It's just like that is the thought bubble like that's happening. Just like, yep, this is normal and fine. Oh my God, why is she like this? Why am I gay like this? And it's just like and it just like continues until we get to the place. And Stacy's going to like get out quickly, and as soon as they like come to a stopping place, run towards Reina, because we haven't seen her in a while, and apparently she's in danger.
Yeah, so let's get a pick of the others before, but Reina's not visible from when he first arrived. Like you can see inside the building, but let's see what it looks like. So Lee, you are showing up with Embry. I imagine that actually I should ask, when you get to your apartment, do you like suggest let's just keep flying straight there, or like what does it look like when you plan to actually make your way to this address?
I mean, there's no midnight mobile for Lee. There's probably like a scooter or something.
Yeah.
It's faster to fly. It is. So after Lee does the awkward having to shove themselves into a costume while their date is also sitting there awkwardly, they end up like Lee probably just like has Embry like fly them there.
Amazing. Yeah, so two things. First, I think there's definitely a panel of like Embry awkwardly sitting in the apartment, just being like, nice lamp. And then that's pretty much it. But then when you kind of like fly in, it's gonna be pretty obvious that High Noon has their arm around Lee's. This all right, just pointed it out. And great. So but you just kind of like sort of like sat down and kind of wait for everyone to gather as well.
Yeah, like after they probably land, there's probably that awkward moment where Lee is not really sure what to do, especially if Stacy and Aaliyah are there first.
Yeah.
And then I think it's one of those like impulsive kind of bucket moments. They just grab Embry's hand and rush along with Stacy.
I love it so much. Yeah, I think Aaliyah will, in want of anyone else to make exchange a shocked look with, will like look over at Stacy and kind of try to do a telepathic like, did you know about this?
Stacy is not concerned about any drama. Only again, a very tunnel visioned young woman right
He has
there.
blinders on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so
I think that Aaliyah would definitely see like the fire and the tunnel vision in the
yeah,
eyes and maybe be a little taken aback by it. I don't think
yeah,
this is I don't think this is something that she's seen since like they were working on a particularly difficult science project together back in the good old
yeah,
days.
sure. Yeah. So I think there's a panel of Aaliyah kind of having like that reaction. What does it look like when you show up with the Dusk and Dawn twins?
Um, I guess it kind of just looks like one like stubborn child's just like here we go, and then like the two like sick of them adults just like what's happening here, them just kind of like dragging her along.
Yeah. Great. All right. So that's how we get to this. So this is mildly unusual just because everyone's not together, but we're about to enter into a battle against a dangerous foe. So I'd like to talk about the team pool, and keeping it just to, and I also like, I think High Noon will mention this like on the outside to like all of you, will say like, listen, this is your teammate, like so far as I'm concerned. And High Noon will like get nods from all the other members of Solstice, and they'll all kind of nod. The Dawn and Dusk twins like somewhat reluctantly, but everyone will nod. And High Noon says, so far as I'm concerned, this is your team's mission and we're here for backup. With that in mind, and so this is for everybody, because I know Raina's inside, but like let's talk about this. Do we feel like we have a clear leader for what's going on in here? And Raina's an option for this too, if kind of the conclusion is going to be like busting in and taking cues from Raina from then on. So anyone have an idea of who you think the leader is of what's going on right now?
I'd say if Stacy is the first one in and is super focused to the situation, she might be the lead.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
All right.
Oh boy. Okay.
Raina, do you think that like if your team shows up and Stacy's kind of taken this role, that you would accept Stacy as leader too, like leader of trying to get you out of the situation?
I don't think so actually.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
remember, I took away influence from Stacy the
yeah,
last time I saw, so no.
yeah. Okay, cool. So and the leader does not have influence over every teammate. I'm guessing that means that not everyone has the same purpose in the fight, but let's talk about that. Like, let's start with you, Raina. Like, getting into this fight with Dr. Shadows, what's your purpose dealing with this situation? And it doesn't even have to be a fight too. It could be just like, what is it that you want to get? Like, what is it that you want to happen right now? Do you want to escape? What do you want?
Yeah, escape. Like, I still don't trust Dr. Shadows. The connected us, kind of ruined in the back of their mind. They're like, he ruined any chance, like, because Adon knows everything. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit, So yeah, it's like not knowing everybody else is here. It's like, no, escape, and then we'll figure out how to unattach ourselves.
great. Cool. So Raina's is to escape. And how about the three on the outside? What are your goals for this fight?
Stacy is just concerned about protecting Reina at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, Lee agrees. Does Witch agree as well?
Which is like thinking like what is going on. So probably more about there's still that kind of like saving Reina, but more so figuring out what is happening.
Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. So I think I think that's mostly the same. I think that's the same enough to say that everyone's got the same purpose. But we've got someone who mistrusts a leader, and we don't have the leaders not have influence over everybody. It also sounds like definitely folks are off balance. So we're removing two team there. I will add, Stacy, you can mark a condition to avoid removing either or both of those two teams from the pool if you would like. But then you have to start the fight with one or two conditions marked, your choice. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'll mark conditions for the sake of the team that's
Great.
suddenly looking at me to lead them into battle. Yeah, like I think Stacy is insecure. I think that
Okay.
is a true thing. Upon recognizing, oh shoot, this is me. I'm doing the thing. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think Stacy will just mark one to prevent one team from getting
Okay,
in.
great. That's going to mean, so the team pool is now at 3, just so everyone knows. We're at 3 in the team pool. Excellent. Okay, great. Stacy, you're the leader. You're outside this building. You get a perspective on it that Reyna, because she entered from the back, didn't. The outside of this building says Halcyon City Archives. It is clearly like a building that's open to the public during the day. It's, it's the evening at this point. It's not open anymore. You can see that there are lights on inside the building, but you can't see Reyna or anything else going on.
Stacy will turn like God, it's like getting up and talking in front of group and in front of members of Thaw is one thing. Getting up and like people expecting to take a lead from me, like in Thaw and then outside of Thaw as well. She's feeling a little nervous. She stutters a little, but says, we get in, we see what's happening with Reyna, protect them from whatever's happening in there, and once they're safe, we'll go from there. Ready?
Aaliyah will say, I mean, this alert, this says that the suspect is Kaida Reyna. This, I don't know, have you ever considered what if Reyna's the one causing the problem?
I think, oof. I think there's going to be a very sharp look towards Aaliyah. And Stacy's going to say, I know my teammate.
Aaliyah will like kind of shrink. Do you have influence over Aaliyah?
I do.
Okay. Cool. I don't remember what happens with NPCs if you take influence over them. I think you take 1 ongoing towards Aaliyah. So take +1 ongoing towards Aaliyah, because that I definitely think that sharp look and that like I know my teammate has made Aaliyah a little bit like almost like eager to please you, like in this situation. Like so yeah, take +1 going forward in regards to Aaliyah. Great. Okay. So yeah, but I think there are other members of Solstice will sort of like nod. What's the plan for getting in? I mean, there's a door that's open right here. Like it's locked, but it's it's a regular human lock. Nothing is stopping a hero from getting through this front door.
I guess Stacy will sort of turn after like that sharp look, looking over all of the heroes gathered, and just sort of punch the door in. I guess that's what we do with doors now. When we're tunnel visioned, we punch them and break them. So the door's busted open now.
Great. So yeah, so Stacy like buffs open the lock on this door. It pushes open. And Reyna, you can see you are basically like once all of these, once everybody floods in, Raina, you have a pretty good idea of exactly who's just walked in from, you're sort of in an alcove room off to the side. So, there's lots going on with these little images projected all over the place. Doctor, you are between Dr. Shadows and the people who have just come in. But you can quickly see, oh, this looks like Solstice and your teammates. And Dr. Shadows will say, oh, good. Solstice, you're here. Wait. What are... and clearly looks frustrated by the hangers-on who have joined as well.
Yeah, I want to assess the situation to see whether or not
Great.
who's the bad guy right now.
Yeah.
Like, whew.
Yes, go ahead and roll to assess the situation. Roll plus superior.
I think my superior. So so it's an 8.
8. Okay, you get to ask one of what here can I use to blank? What here is the biggest threat? What here is in the greatest danger? Who here is most vulnerable to me? How could we best end this quickly?
Yeah, I need to know who the biggest threat is, like for sure. With everybody now into convergence side.
Yes, so you definitely think the biggest threat is Dr. Shadows being able to convince you imagine that Dr. Shadows, I think like with your assessment of the situation, Solstice is a superhero team who like they can totally be on call to people who are doing hero business. Like they are probably the team that people would call if it's like, oh, I need to take someone in. And you think that the biggest threat is that Solstice will be convinced and your team won't stop them to take you in. Someone will be convinced that you're the villain in this situation and you deserve to be, to be thwarted, basically. And that is most likely to happen through threat of Dr. Shadows just like having a chance to talk and manipulate people, as you know that he can do.
Okay. I think I'm just like very confused on why everybody's here. Not happy that Solstice is here, especially since Dr. Shadows was very much expecting Solstice. That's never a good sign. And just kind of looking at everybody like, the fuck? And it's like, stay away from the doctor. Like just immediately want like worried about the team, like don't want to any more ancient artifacts to be attached to anyone else. And so yeah, just shouting out to her, like, stay away from the doctor. I don't know what's going on, but you have to protect yourselves.
What do you all do in response to this?
Stacy sees Reina in chains, and hears them shout the doctor, and it's just gonna go punch the doctor in the face, because that's not okay. You don't do that to
Okay.
the team. Yeah.
Go ahead and roll to directly engage a threat. Yeah, go ahead and roll plus danger to do that. Also, sorry, I'm tired today. I can't believe I didn't make you pierce the mask when you were looking at Lenore. That was a misfire on my part. Sorry that I'm just very tired. But that's all good. Directly engage a threat this time.
I rolled a 6 and a 2 for an 8.
Okay.
Then I have +2 on my danger.
Nice.
That's a 10.
That's a 10.
So I kick his ass. I'm
Great.
going to run up and choose 2.
Choose 2.
I will impress, surprise, or frighten the opposition, and I will create an opportunity for my allies.
Okay, great. So yeah, so you're gonna run up and punch Dr. Shadows, who again like throws up this kind of like this kind of chain-like armor. And I definitely think that Dr. Shadows is super surprised by the fact that you have just like leapt in to start attacking. I'll also say, just to create what this panel looked like, you have to kind of like bound across the room to do this, to get to Dr. Shadows. You're bounding through these crystals, which are still displaying all of these images from different realities. So there is like images, and Stacy, as you're going through, like something about your force passing through the crystals starts to show a bunch of scenes that have Reina in them, but also have Stacy in them. And you can see that there are scenes, like there's maybe one from a couple weeks ago where you two went to go get a sandwich or something, and you're just hanging out and eating at a table. But then there's one that we see where Reina's like standing over Stacy's like broken like body, like, and with just like a placid look of just like, I did it, on their face, and then there's another one where Stacy and Reina are like locked in combat together. It's difficult to tell if you're training or if it's a real fight. You're just moving through, and all these things happen. But then you get through to the other side. You leap in. You punch Dr. Shadows, who just says, "Hey, I called you here." But this creates an opportunity. Dr. Shadows is distracted. So allies, this is an opportunity for you to get to Reina. So Lee or a witch or both, what are you gonna do? And also Reina, if you want to run towards your friends, it's an opportunity for you as well. Like Dr. Shadows is distracted right now.
I am taking a moment to look at Adon because I feel so sorry for Adon. Least informed one of the group, obviously.
Yeah.
And like how is Adon looking? Like, is he trying to do anything?
Adon has a very serious look across his face. Like he just like, he looks at you as you look at him, and you like make eye contact. And you get the sense that he's just like going to be following your lead. Like he does not know what to do in this situation, but you have a sense he's decided to trust you.
And I think I just like whisper, we got to get out of here, and I'll explain everything. And yeah, we'll pull him towards the team, not necessarily towards the solstice part of the team.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Carrion and Witch, what are you up to?
I do run towards Raya.
Okay, great.
Same. Lee just kind of lets go of Embry's hand. They trust them enough that they're gonna hope Embry is not going to go defend Dr. Shadows or anything, and they are rushing to Reina.
And okay, yeah. So Dr. Shadows is like locked in combat with Stacy. Now, Stacy, you did not elect to resist any blows. So I think what's going to happen here, like as we get the panels of the other group kind of like rushing together. And actually, before we move back to Stacy, you have enough time to like get together. There's like a whole, battle sequence going on in the background. What do you do when you sort of like come together as a group? And you can see that in the background, Solstice, they haven't like they're not rushing to Dr. Shadow's aid, but they're sort of like forming like a perimeter around you as your meet up with Reina and Adon. So when you get up to them, like Reina and Adon, their wrists are still like locked together. What happens when the four of you, kind of rush into being a group?
Lee just kind of looks at Witch. I think if we work together, we might be able to get these off them.
Yeah, what exactly is going on here? What is this?
What are you guys doing here? These are apparently ancient I'm about to say ancient mechs, ancient technology. And I haven't been able to get them off, and now we're connected.
Okay,
why is Solstice here?
They got a 911 call that you were a threat, but also that's complete bullshit.
I didn't think stalking was a threat. Like just legit, like this old, like, villain kind of thoughts. Like
I still have I believe I still have the other camera. So I do want to like use that on like the bracelets to maybe see if there's a way, something that
Yeah.
can break them.
Yeah, so you take the old camera. It doesn't print out anything like super interesting in regards to like the elements. You can see though that this is a ton of like these are like rare earth metals, right? So, we're talking there's gold, there's silver, there's bronze. Some of which seems like it's quite malleable, like we're not talking platinum, we're not talking like stuff that, like, I should say this is stuff that can be broken. Like these are metal materials that with enough strength could be prized open. And I imagine, I don't know how much I don't know how much Reina would have tried before, because obviously like this was on and couldn't get off. Like Reina hasn't been able to get it off now, but there's nothing in this that is a material that like physically you cannot break or would be very difficult to do.
Well, it's breakable. We just need something really strong. Stacy
turns to look at Stacy.
I think Stacy's a little bit busy, guys.
Aaliyah will step forward and be like, not to brag, but Stacy and I have the same powers, and I have the benefit of not having died before I got to use them, so I can. And Aaliyah will kind of like step forward, offering to try to break these off.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Stacy's in the background getting thrown into a wall.
Yeah. So we get one panel, Aaliyah's like kind of reaching over and starts to sort of like break these apart. It's clearly like she starts at it and she's like, there's something really strong. I don't think it's the metal, but she's making progress. She's sort of like loosening it, but it's still stuck. And going over to Stacy for a minute. So Stacy, like what's happening here is Dr. Shadows is not nearly as strong as you. Anytime that you can get a blow in on Dr. Shadows, you are like scaring him, and you are doing some damage. Like he is like, he is very susceptible to being hit. However, he is very evasive and is doing a good job of not getting hit. He has activated like he's got this armor that he's like throwing up. Like he'll just, it kind of goes in front of him as your fist is colliding with it. And he also gets these kind of you can see that he activates, like presses something near his leg. And the shoes made out of the same like link-like material sort of activate that allow him to sort of start like running up the walls and like jumping, back and forth. Like they're almost like melding to take whatever shape he wants. At one point, like they shape into almost like a skateboard looking thing and just like let him kind of slide down. So you don't take a powerful blow from him, but at one point he ducks out of the way, and exactly like you said, like the force of your own jump like propels you into a wall and you like crash against it. I'm gonna have you roll to take a powerful blow, please, when this happens to you.
So cool. Okay, I only have one condition marked, which is nice. So let's see if I can miss. One of them was cocked. First one was a 1. Second one was a 3. That is 5 total.
Great. Okay.
I stand so strong.
Yeah. So mark potential is normal. What does it look like? You crash into this wall, but you just like you take it. What does Stacy look like in this moment?
I believe that like while Stacy is like harrying this man and like trying to get like harrying this person, trying to get a good blow in, they're like probably shouting back at Stacy like, why are you doing this? what's going on. I called heroes to help me. Look at all of the stuff that Reina is doing in these images. And I think Stacy is going to slam into the wall, like getting a little bit distracted by all of the things that they're saying. But like unstick herself from like the Stacy shaped hole that she sort of left, turn and say, your illusions aren't going to work here. I know who my friends are.
At this, the fight kind of comes to like a stalemate, right? Like Dr. Shadows has, some armor up. You're standing. You could clearly start punching it again, but it'll just start trading. So there's sort of like a stopping point here. Aaliyah is still like trying to break this off at the other end. And Dr. Shadows will, in a voice booming enough that everyone across the whole room will hear it, will say, there are no illusions here. This I promise you. What I show you here, this is reality. Not our own, not just our own, I should say, but countless realities. And in almost all of them, who you see over there, and like he gestures over at Reina, is not Reina, a member of the Defrigerators. That is Kaida Reina, the fallen queen, soon to become the greatest supervillain Halcyon City has ever seen. You're supposed to be a hero, right? Heroes take down villains. I'm telling you, that's one of them.
That was me. That's not me. I joined the refrigerator so it would never be me again.
And at this, Dr. Shadow sort of grins and says, do you think this is the only reality where you joined the Defrigerators? Because I can show you what happens in lots of them. And with that, we'll sort of like reach another crystal out of his pocket and use it to kind of like turn, almost like he's turning a channel on like an old TV. And the images shift. And there are images that start to flash across that say, it's like newspaper headlines. It's like Kaida Reina, ex-Defrigerator, now, taking over Halcyon City with an army of, psychic constructs, right? Like there's some like that. There's ones where it's a press conference where Witch and Coldcock and Carrion are talking and saying, like, yes, Kaida Reina was a member of our team once, but I don't think that they could resist the thrall of villainy again. And they're all futures. You could tell they're all slightly different. Like some of them, Witch has a new scar, or I guess it wouldn't be Witch, but maybe Lee has a new scar. Like everyone looks a little different in them. Some of them actually have some of the heroes missing; they're just not there. But you're seeing a constellation of realities where you were a Defrigerator once, and you still became a villain again.
When Stacy passed by these things, it turned to focus on Stacy, right?
Yeah, it was moments that had Stacy and Reina both as part of them.
This might be not quite in line with Lee's powers because technically it's psychic weapons. I'm wondering if I could stretch this and Lee kind of like grabs one of these, and I kind of just want to force them all to like just start display just different realities of everyone, just kind of like force that psychic power, like. And I think Lee just kind of turns both to like both Raina and Dr. Shadows, and I guess in turn a little bit to everyone else. Yeah, but right now, Raina's a hero. She's our friend, and she is not a villain. Because these fucking futures, sure, there's 1,000 of them. They don't mean anything if we don't let them. Because like some of them, it's not Lee, it's Ophelia. Some of them, they are standing right there in line with their family in a stupid ass costume. And just all of these other visions and futures that can and can't be. And I'm kind of want to try and short circuit these.
Yeah. I think this is an unleash your powers for sure. This seems like you're stretching them. Let's see how this goes. Plus freak.
Okay. Not fun because I lowered that down.
We've got some team in the pool too still. So
I mean that's still an 8.
amazing. Okay. So you could either mark a condition or I'll tell you how this effect is unstable or temporary. You could choose.
I think I will mark the condition guilty because part of this stuff like Lee does not tell anyone and they feel bad for keeping that secret a little bit. And this is how they're kind of showing it off. And this is a very shameful kind of moment for them as well.
Yeah, but I think what you said exactly as you described it happened, like this wave of guilt rushes over you, but you like are able to get in and kind of like you stretch your powers, you start manipulating these. And they start to show everyone's different futures. You can see that there's a future where a much older Dr. Shadows and a much older Adon are like in an embrace themselves. And Dr. Shadows is sort of like kind of like backs away from it a little bit. There's a future where you Lee and Embry High Noon are like together getting married at like an altar, right? There's a future where you can actually see you could see Aaliyah is, you know, like basically in prison. Like Aaliyah is like tucked behind bars. Yeah, I mean, and there's like some of you are seeing versions of yourselves where it's like that you haven't seen in a long time. There's a version of Stacy without powers. There's a version of Lee that looks like Ophelia. There is a version of Alice that is not masked. It's kind of like happy and hanging out with like a blonde-haired guy who, you know, seems a little bit sour-faced, but you know, they're just hanging out. And then there are other visions here too of Raina, where Raina is hanging out happily with the Don, or is not with the Don, but is like with the group of all of you. Raina is in the crowd at that one vision of Lee and Embry's wedding. You know, like Raina is in all of these. And yeah, some of them Raina's doing evil things. Some of them Raina's just living life. But you put out this constellation where you're kind of trying to like flick through all of these different things, and they sort of start to flick through really fast. And Dr. Shadows definitely is like staggered by this and says, Raina, you have so many futures before you. This is true. If in so many of them you do take the path of evil, doesn't that make it some kind of destiny?
But we could still fight destiny. I got a second chance. And yes, and I turned to look at, since I'm still connected with the Dawn, I walked towards him because I wasn't expecting him, but obviously He's going to betray me. Why would I want to keep going the path of betrayal?
And at that, Aaliyah finally breaks something in these bracelets, and they like come apart. They clatter to the ground. They like clatter to the ground in tiny, thousands of these tiny small links. Like they're not even the bracelets aren't even in form anymore. They just sort of like fall apart into little pieces. And when they do, a of energy kind of comes up from where these fell to the ground. And there's one image, and this one's a lot clearer than the others. It's a scene. And it's an older Dr. Shadows saying to Adon, to El Soldado, we can use this device, and if you sacrifice your powers, then we can save Caída Reina. And Reina, this scene is familiar to you. You know what happens. Except what happens, or what you thought, doesn't. Because the next thing that Adon says is, of course, my powers mean nothing if she's not here to help me use them. And like offers basically like both of his arms out, bracelets very similar to the ones that you just had on, kind of like go over them. And you can see that Dr. Shadows has on his face in this future vision just sort of like the ghost of a smile as they go on. And you can see the bracelets start sort of glowing as energy. You can see the physical energy like sapping out of Adon and into these bracelets. And then the image disappears.
That's not what happened, though. He refused.
When you say this, Dr. Shadows of now sort of like looks over at you and says, he did. That was a different future where something else happened, but you're Adon, he refuses. And this Adon looks over at you and says, I don't know you at all, but I know me. And anyone that I cared about as much as it seems like one day I'll care about you, I would have given anything up to save them.
I think she's going to pierce the mask.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Go ahead and roll plus mundane, please.
Yeah. 10, but -1, so a 9.
9. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So you can ask one of the questions. What are you really planning? What do you want me to do? What do you intend to do? How could I get your character to blank, or how could I gain influence over you?
Let's see. How am I going to phrase this? Actually, no. What do you want me to do to Adon?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. Adon wants you to trust them. Adon put a lot of trust in you, just assuming, Adon doesn't know anything about you. Adon has maybe started to come to the glimmer of the realization that you were potentially the one following them, who's been making them a little uneasy, especially with your little hints that you've been dropping over the course of this. But like Adon decided to trust you because there's something about you that Adon thought that he could trust. And Adon is right now asking you to do, kind of like imploring you with his eyes to do the same thing and believe what he's saying right now.
And I think she gives like a shuddering sigh and stares and yeah, just she already failed to technically already failed to prevent her doom when she stepped towards him at the Hall of Mirrors. And nods. And even though they're no longer like clasped together, she gently grabs his hand.
Yeah. When you grab his hand, so most of these crystals have kind of stopped showing images, or they're just showing little flickers of things. You start seeing flickers go up of first of the art gallery where you were kind of injured for the first time, right? And then of the fight with the Ruby Beast and Iron Lass, where you something happened with your powers and you died, and you see flickers of that fight. They all kind of start going up, but also it's intertwined with other scenes, and these scenes look different. These scenes look like they are in all of these other ones have been like grainy, like old projector footage. These are much more vivid, and these are little small things. Like they're not important moments. They're you slightly older than you are now, brushing your teeth next to a Don, like in the bathroom of an apartment that doesn't actually look that familiar to you. There is you in your theater, the community theater that you built with the Don, like throwing popcorn at each other like from across, and trying to catch it in your mouths. There's you just like going on a walk. There's you in an IKEA having an argument about a side table. Like there's all of these little things, and they are far more vivid than all of the other footage that you saw. And Adon will like squeeze your hand if you'll let him, and just like, you're no longer attached, but we'll just like squeeze your hand. And Dr. Shadows will sort of like look at this and say, Team Solstice, I called you here to apprehend someone who could become one of the greatest villains, not just Halcyon City, but this world has ever seen. Are you telling me you will not take this opportunity to apprehend such a great threat? And Embry sort of looks around and is like, no, right? And Aaliyah's like, nah, and the Dusk and Dawn twins are just sort of like, whatever. And with that, Dr. Shadow says, oh, okay. And he turns and starts sprinting. He is running out of this place. What do you all do when Dr. Shadow starts just kind of like hightailing it out of here?
What I want to do is I want to shoot like a vine at him. So
okay, yeah.
So I have to make 2 rolls for that. I gotta do my burn.
Nice.
I don't know if they're in 1 roll. I think they're 2 rolls. The charge and then the attack. So that's a hit. There's no consequence on a hit for my burn. That was
great.
like a 11. And with that, I guess unleash my power is the move for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go ahead.
All right. Plus freak. That's freak. Good. I have a lot of that. That's 5 plus 3. That's an 8.
That's an 8. Okay. So would you like to mark a condition, or should I tell you how the effect is unstable or temporary?
Tell me how the effect is unstable or temporary.
Okay. So you like does this come like from your eye basically? Like is this like
I was thinking like she tries to shoot it from her hand, but then it actually comes out of her eye.
Yeah. So this vine like extends out and wraps around Dr. Shadows, basically like tripping him. He's already been beat up pretty badly in the fight with Coldcock, so he kind of just sort of like collapses and just sort of starts like writhing around. But you can see like the vine as it's kind of left is like kind of starting to wither, like as like it gets around him, but it's sort of like withering as he's like struggling against it. Do any of you, the rest of you do anything after Witch pulls this move?
So when the Professor Rings guy started running away, that's sort of like the end of it to Stacy at least. Um, she she came here to protect Reina. And once Reina is out of the bracelets, once the person bothering Reina is on their way out, Stacy is going to run to Reina and just tackle them in a not tackle them, but give them a huge hug. Um, she is like crying. She's crying a little bit. Hadn't heard from you in like a little while and thought you were like doing things on your own, but like then we got news that you were a danger or in trouble or something, and she is so happy that you're safe. And she is babbling a bit.
Yeah, I think she's surprised by the hug. It's like, ooh, and tries to like hug back, but she's very emotional because of Adon and this like I become this super villain in a lot of like that's also kind of cool, but also wait, no, I'm not supposed to watch that anymore. And then like and it's kind of a little surprised, Stacey, because like yeah, you were dealing with a lot of things before Reina disappeared and deal with your own shit. And it's like, oh, and like hugs back and it's like, sorry, I got a little boy crazy, I guess.
Um, upon like hearing boy crazy, like takes a step back. I'm not sure that she really understood all that was happening, but like really looks at the two of you and is like, oh, so that's why you've been away. It's I I'm Stacy. I mean Coldcock. I mean, I'm Stacy. You seem nice. She is gone from crying to giving Adon the once over.
Yeah. Look who cares about relationships now. Stacy's back in it. Yeah, so Adon will sort of like shake your hand and be like, hey, I'm Adon. I'm extremely confused. But it's good to meet you. Uh and we'll sort of like look around at the rest of this. I want to check in with Lee. What's Lee doing now that, and I think even though this vine is like withering away, like Dr. Shadows is sort of just like kind of crawling off in the distance. Like he definitely doesn't seem like he's about to engage in any like super big threats or anything like that. But how does Carrion react?
I think if Witch seems to kind of have it under control, and this guy does not seem like he's going to be lodging another attack or a formal complaint or something, they're definitely going to kind of follow behind Stacy to make sure Rada is okay. And while Stacy is giving Adon the shovel talk,
Yeah.
it's
No
kind of
shovel talk, just being overly curious and like, oh, so you like each other way?
but yeah, Lee will look towards Reyna. Fuck
And
what?
sorry, go ahead.
I was, fuck whatever that guy has to say, Reyna. I kind of proof that what people say you're supposed to be is not who you end up being. And I don't think you have to worry about being a villain, but if like it kind of heads that way, I don't think we'll let you get far before we like knock some sense into you.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of stuck with y'all, huh?
Adon is gonna like look at you, Reyna, and say, honestly, and I'm a little biased in one direction over the other, I guess, but I think the important thing here is that, I mean, it's not that you're a hero or a villain, it's just that you're great, like, at what you do. You're great. And I do think that Adon is trying to shift your labels here. And or does Adon have influence over you?
I don't think so. I have influence over him. I'm double
Okay,
checking.
all right.
Yeah,
I might have that backwards. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll still let you, like, if you want. Adon is trying to, like, shift your superior up a little bit, and you're freaked down. You can still decide, like, you don't have to roll to reject it or accept it or whatever, but Adon's making this attempt with you right now.
Yeah, and I think she'll accept that. So
Great.
Doing the changes before I forget. She kind of just, like, it's the first time I think everybody sees she does the very teenagey, like, blushy thing, like,
Yeah.
and, like, twirling the hair. It's like, you're great too. I mean, and usually I was the one supporting you, but we'll, like, looking around because she doesn't trust the solstice still.
Yeah.
It's like, talk later if you're willing.
Yeah. I think at that, High Noon is gonna kind of, like, look, and I think High Noon is gonna say, look, I think you all have a lot of catching up to do. And we'll make very direct eye contact with Lee, and say, as much as I hate to leave, I think the four of us should get out of here and leave you all to it.
I mean, you know where to find me.
High Noon will sort of, like, raise a hand, and the rest of Solstice will leave. Midnight, aka Leah, is definitely gonna give, like, a lingering look at Stacy.
Stacy is going to, like, upon seeing that, like, they're, like, about to dip, is going to, like, turn around, like, walk up to them as straight and leader-like as she can, and sort of be like, heroes of Solstice, thanks for helping save our teammate.
Aaliyah will be the one who kind of turns around and says, no problem. We both know I owe you more than one. And their whole team will exit. It's just you four. Now, I want to ask, like, it's you four. Dr. Shadows has kind of, like, crawled away into a hold somewhere. He's not causing any problems to anyone else anytime soon. But you all have, like, a decent amount of catching up to do, both because Raina's been gone for a while, and because just it's been a while. We've had a whole Lenore is evil. Wait, is Lenore evil since all of you were together? I want to ask, if we don't have to, like, we could just describe the fact that it happens, like someone giving an update, but will you all kind of, like, share some information between each other right now? Will you use this opportunity to, like, catch everyone up on what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think though. What?
I was say I kind of fill them in on Lenore and where Lenore is.
Great.
I think if Stacy is not giving Adon the shovel talk, Lee is going to, like, shove themselves in between Stacy and Adon. Just kind of, like, grab him by, like, the shirt.
Very important.
If what we've seen here today is any indication, if you hurt her at all, if you do anything she doesn't like, you are going anything. You are going to end up being haunted by your worst nightmares for the rest of your short life.
What if it's an accident? What?
Carry on. I have to find out if this one even wants to. We're 5 steps ahead than we're supposed to be.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Adon will sort of like, take a step back and be like, and honestly, I think Adon will say, like, look, I think I probably should leave you and your friends to talk too. But here's my phone number.
And yeah, like she pretends she doesn't know it. It's like, oh, sure, I like takes the number.
I will call you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as Adon is like handing off the number and then awkwardly shuffling away, I think that Stacy has been like pretty quiet as like everybody's been recapping what they've been up to. Is just gonna say, Adon, I don't think I would worry too much about the Professor Ringmaster guy. Um, I don't think he said that like heroes like sort of defeat villains, and I don't think that's what heroes do. I think heroes really save people.
Adon will sort of like smile at that and say, I think that if all heroes had that philosophy, Halcyon City would probably be a better place. I'll catch you all later. And he'll give sort of like a little wink to Reyna as he walks out into the night. And yeah, and any more information
Stacy,
swapping?
as soon as he leaves, Stacy squeals and like tries to hold Raina's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reina's a little blushy about that. And then I think she gives a very like very much a brief rundown of, yeah, so what happened was in 10 years I did become this big villain, and then and I thought, I don't know why I got a second chance, but I don't remember everything. And I thought becoming part of the Defrigerators would fix everything. Kind of like whole spiel about Dr. Paris. Does mention Haywire because they were on the list, and it's like, that's a villain we probably still need to like keep an eye on, like, and everything. And it's like, yeah, Don's technically a low-level villain henchman. Maybe I'll be able to change that. And yeah.
Now that the whole team is together, which is gonna like bring everyone around and be like, okay, team, I guess we've all kind of come clean. We all know about each other except for one. I think you might have seen it already in whatever the time mess was, but I think it's time I let you all in on who exactly I am. And hood off, mask off. My name is Alice Fox. Around 2 years ago today, the person who I thought was my partner shot me in the eye, trying to kill me out of, I guess, press jealousy. But I don't know. I've been pretending to be this leader, like I said I was a part of a team before and I knew what I was doing, and that's not true. If anything, I was the opposite of a leader. I was the sidekick, and I guess I wanted to make up for that. But anyways, Alice Fox, nice to meet you all officially.
I mean, for what it's worth, you're doing a hell of a lot better than 90% of the superheroes I know, and I think I might as well come clean and say I know a lot. I my family ginormous assholes, and I don't belong with them anymore. I'm dead to them, quite literally. And I mean, Alice, we could always kill your former partner if you want.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but that was kind of my plan.
I mean, I
Um,
do know
I
different
don't
ways.
like this plan.
I'm not
Um,
technically a
Sometimes
hero yet, so I can still do some villainy things, maybe.
sometimes we're better without heroes, certain heroes especially, and if he was going to kill our friend,
I would ask at you don't tell anyone about this. He doesn't know I'm alive as much as most of the world doesn't know I'm alive, and
oh,
same
I
for us.
didn't. I didn't know, but I do now. A voice echoes from the catwalk.
no.
And jumping down from the same place that Raina jumped down before is
Damn it.
a blonde young man wearing a tight yellow spandex suit. It's got a white stripe down the middle and like across the waist. He's wearing like a jacket. It has lots of pockets, lots of like utility straps, and that's the only word that he gets out before he tosses like an orb, a little black ball in your direction, and then with the gun kind of shoots it in the air right as it gets in front of all of you. And immediately this thing detonates. It's a silent implosion that wraps you all in a bubble and just like crushes you downward. You start plummeting through into the basement of this annex. And you see this person on the mark, as I'm sure a lot of you would recognize. He's actually a pretty well-known hero at this point. He looks down over at you and says, Alice and friends. Oh, sorry. Which nowadays. I wish I could let you go, but I don't think my new boss would appreciate it. And he speaks into his wrist, and the last thing you hear as he walks away is middleman, it's on the mark. Target's delayed, and I'm on the move. And that is where we're going to leave off tonight. We're going to pick up there for our final episode next time. Wow, this was wild. What an adventure. How much fun. Please, viewers, make sure you tune in next time to see the thrilling conclusion and figure out what's going on. Anita, would you please start our outro? Tell our lovely viewers where it is that they can find you. Tell them about yourself. Try to emotionally recover if you need to do that. And please kick our outro off.
You can't keep getting away with this. Hi, everyone. I'm Anita. My name is Anita. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. Today, I have been Stacy Jane. Stacy Jane. That is she, her pronouns. And now I'm in a bubble. I'm in a bubble with my friends. God, I'm places. I do things. Infinity City podcast, an Elliot Andrews production. I'm there. We have releases on the Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts every other Saturday. You can find me there doing more masks, getting hurt again. Speaking of getting hurt again, Mateo.
Okay. I'm Mateo. You might know me as the Milk Boy. Um, she, her. You can find me not on Twitter anymore. You can find me every other social media. Certified Milk Boy with a Y. That's certified with a Y. Find my games on itch.io at Milk Boy Games. You can play Camp Cryptid. That's the only one that's out right now, but there's more coming. I do this. But yeah, I'll pass that to Alice now.
Hi guys. I'm Alice. She, they pronouns. Um, I have been playing Lee Daring, the delinquent. Lee uses they, them pronouns. I mean, at least we're together and we have our friends, and we just sent away the only superhero squad that can probably help us. um, but you can find me pretty much everywhere online at Alice Hart or Hellion Hart. You can find me with my card, all my social media at alicehart.card, CARRD.co. Depending on when this is coming out, I might have a lot of things going on. But most regularly, you can find me as an editor and producer over at the Monster of the Week actual play podcast, Welcome to Reddington. I am one of the many players on that show as well. So either, depending on when you're listening to this, the last week or this next week, an episode will be coming out. But yeah, tossing it over to Diana.
Hello, everybody. I go by Dynamite Online. I use she, her pronouns. You can find me still on Twitter because I will be there until it's done. And Blue Sky as Diana Moon, or on Twitch and YouTube as X Diana Moon X. You can also find me on Sunday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. PST on Nerdgasm Noir Twitch with the Reclaimers and all POC art actual play. Have no idea what we'll be playing by the time you watch this, but there'll be food and shenanigans, and check it out. And yeah, I bring it back to our lovely twist maker, Allie.
I am Allie. I have been your game master for today. You can find me at Allie_Yacta_est on most social media. I'm the director of production and creative at a video game startup, so I talk about that sometimes. And you can also find me alongside Anita as One Up on Elliot Andrews Productions Masks New Generation podcast, Infinity City, wherever your podcasts are acquired. And a couple announcements before we go. First, the creator app is always open. If you've got a story you'd like to tell, you should submit to the creator app and get your story told. You can find the links in a lot of places, but do it. Submit something to the creator app. You never know, and you could be telling something really awesome and fun. Also, if you want to ensure that women and femme-centric content like this continues to get made, and that the people who are putting in the work get paid for it, you can follow Girls Run These Worlds on Twitch and Twitter, and throw a Twitch subscription. If you've got one of those free Prime subscriptions, renew it. And you can also drop a couple bucks on Ko-fi. That's always an option too. It all goes to the incredible cast and the team of GRTW of all the great shows. So please do that if you can. And last, check out girlsruntheseworlds.com for merch. And there's also some zines there. They're filled with RPG content for whatever kind of RPG you might be running. Super cool stuff. Always has a really great new theme for the zine. You should check it out. We have been your Freezerburnt team. We have one more episode left, and I guarantee you it's going to be a thrilling one. So we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.